I'm Jenneke from the Netherlands, and this is my solo travel adventure.
What's good, beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. I am Kenya right now, and I'm here with Jenneke, a solo traveler, and we're going to be talking to her about her story and her travel adventure. So, first let me ask, what was the first time where you felt like you were bitten by the travel bug?
Wow. I don't think there was one moment. I think it was always there, actually. And I'm very curious, and I think that's my main thing that drives me to go out and explore. And that's always been there. I've been always the one who's exploring around the house, around the village, around the country, and that just grew bigger and bigger and bigger.
So Jenneke and I actually met at a women's entrepreneur brunch over the weekend, and she was telling me about her travel story, and I was really intrigued by it because it just sounded really interesting. So tell us what brought you here to Medellin.
Well, Medellin was actually quite random. I sailed the Atlantic Ocean last January, arriving in Barbados, and the Caribbean was a bit too expensive for me, so I thought, let's get out of here to a more cheaper place, and they have flights to Bogota which were affordable. So I found myself a few days later on a flight to Bogota, and then I knew Medellin is a big hub for digital nomads. So it made sense for me to come here, work on my network, get some work done, and yeah, that's basically how I ended up here.
One of the things that really excited me about her story was that you have done something that I had never ever heard of before. So tell us about this hugely interesting and cool thing that you decided to do when you decided to travel.
Well, I was living the last 3 years of my corporate life in Indonesia, and I really thought I had to do something different. And I heard about a girl, a friend actually of a friend, who's now a good friend of mine, and she's hitch sailing the world. So that's actually basically catching rides on sailboats to go from A to B. And
unbelievable! I have never ever heard of this before in my life. When she said hitch sailing, I was like, wait a minute, like hitchhiking, hitch sailing? I mean, that's so cool. So tell us what site or program it was that you used, or if there's multiple ones, please share that with us.
Well, there's many actually. You can find it. You can find boats or crew if you are a boat on sailingnetworks.com, Cruise Seeker, Crew Finder, 7 Knots, Ocean Crew Link. There's many actually. So I signed up on a few of them, and within a few days, the Indian Ocean is not very. That was my first ocean I hitch sailed. The Indian Ocean is not very popular for hitch sailing because it's quite a long distance to go from Asia to South Africa, and there's not many places where you easily can get off. Well, you can get off in, for instance, Cocos Keeling, but then the flight costs are quite expensive, quite high to leave that place again. So yeah, the most popular place to do it, or the most popular ocean, is the Atlantic. I did that last January, and
so this was your second time?
Yeah, I did now 2 oceans.
So when you did the Atlantic, where did you go?
The Atlantic, I started in the Canary Islands on Tenerife, and then we went via Cape Verde to Barbados in the Caribbean. And the first time I jumped on the boat in Malaysia, sailing to Cocos Keeling, Rodriguez, Mauritius, La Réunion, and South Africa.
Wow. The first thing that came to my mind was she's a single woman, you're traveling alone, you're on a boat with someone. Do you have to know how to swim in order to swim?
Oh, I don't think they asked. I don't remember. But
I don't swim, but I'm just thinking if something went down on that boat and I had to jump off the boat, like for me it would be a bad deal because I can't swim. But
it would be a bad deal for anyone in the middle of the ocean.
true. But the first thing that came to my mind was, as a woman, did you get any, like, what was your experience basically when you put that request out there, like as a solo traveling woman? Was there any weird experiences that you had with the men or anything like that?
Well, if you read on this subject, for a single woman, they will always warn you just to be sure what you're getting yourself into. And yeah, for sure, there are many single handers, many men who would like to have the company of a woman. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but if that's not what you're looking for, I was not looking for that. Yeah, you usually can feel that already in the communication you have via email. And then the thing I told myself is I'm going to meet the captain and the other crew as well. I wasn't alone initially with the captain. And if it doesn't feel right, just leave. And I think that's, anyway, in travel, always a big thing. Just really listen to your intuition. And it goes double for an adventure like this. But
is it similar to an Airbnb or couch surfing where there are profiles and you can read the person's reviews, like other people who have sailboats, person can leave a review of how it was? Like, how do you choose?
Yeah, it depends a little bit, but on the website there are many, some websites are free of charge, so you don't have to pay anything, and you can be connected with captains and captains with potential crew. And other websites you have to pay a small fee to get access to each other's details. And some websites, yeah, you can leave a reference for a captain or a boat you sail with, and so it varies a lot from each website. Yeah.
So are you working? Because you told me before that you have to pay. You have to pay because you're using their accommodations, like But are you paying and working? Are you paying and then just coasting? Like, how does that work?
Well, the first trip, it was a 5-month trip, and I had saved up a little bit of money.
Whoa, 5 months?
Yeah, it was 5 months.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, I saved up a little bit of money for that, and I had to pay a fee, like a monthly fee for the food you're eating, and well, actually, sailing is quite expensive, so it made sense that you would pay a share, and you actually pay also for the adventure.
You have to work?
Yeah, well, the work you do is the boat has to remain clean inside and outside, so you'll be...
But are you cleaning after yourself, or are you cleaning the boat, like the entire, or assigned a part of the boat to clean?
Well, no, usually you're one big family and everyone has a task, so the captain is navigating, is preparing everything, is making sure everyone is staying safe and healthy, and so it really varies per boat. We had, for instance, a rotating schedule for every day. Someone was responsible for providing the meals, for cooking the meals, preparing it, and yeah, upon arrival, you just host up the boat, you do it together, and then you clean the interior together. So it's really teamwork, and it's not like, oh, this is my little area and I'll clean it. That's not working on a boat. A boat is too small, and if you're on a long journey, then no.
So 5 months is a long time. Did you ever get seasick? I mean, that's a really long time to be living on a boat. Did you go through any like mind trips of like, I'm trapped on a boat? Like,
no, I never really had that, but I knew I was gonna get seasick. I was like really seasick already on a ferry, or I could be. So yeah, I read a little bit about it, and I was so amazed. Even the travelers, the sailors that I met during my trip, and many captains, they're like always seasick, and they just
really,
yeah, it's really true. And they take medication for it, which makes you a little bit drowsy sometimes. But the longer you're at sea, the less you have to take. So yeah, I've been seasick. I've been really seasick. But the longer I was on the boat, the easier it became.
You get used to it.
yeah, your body gets used to it. They know the movements, and then it's every time you dock, your body gets used to land again, and then when you leave, you have to start your pills again. And then after a few days at sea, you take less pills, and after a few days, you don't have to take any pills anymore.
Interesting. So what was the life like day to day? Like, did you feel like, oh, this is the dream life, or was it like, this is not what I signed up for?
It was more than I signed up for, actually. Yeah. No, well, obviously when I was very seasick, I wasn't too happy. It's like the worst feeling ever. But yeah, I remember arriving in Kokoskeeling. That was the first stop. We had nearly 12 days at sea. I had been so seasick for a few days. And by the time we arrived in Kokoskeeling, there were dolphins swimming at the bow, escorting us into the lagoon, and it was just so pretty. And that was, I was really, really happy at that moment. It was like intense happiness. And throughout the whole 5 months, there was also no pressure of anything other than I had to do that same day. Yeah.
But I mean, on dating, like just being on a boat, like you got up and what, like describe a day?
A day.
A typical day.
Well, if you're sailing, the typical day would be depending on the rules of the boat. But you have watch schedules, so there always has to be someone on the helm to see what's going on around you, just to see if there's other boats, if there's stuff in the water, if the boat is still on course. So always you will have your watch schedule. So for instance on the Atlantic, my watch schedule would be every night from 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. So that means that I would sleep before and after, and I had a few hours during the day. On the first boat I was on, there was a rotating schedule, so you would be 4 hours on, and then the 3 other people would be 4 hours on. So you would be 4 hours on, and then 12 hours off. And during the night it was 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 9 hours off.
So you basically work, eat, and sleep on the boat.
Yes, and you read, and you just stare out of the ocean and see dolphins, let yourself be entertained by dolphins. And, yeah.
So would you recommend it? I mean, obviously you liked that you did it a second time. Is it something that you would recommend people try, or is it more like...
Well, you know, everyone has their own journeys, has their own adventures. For me, if you would ask my family or my friends prior to the adventure, they would be like, what? Jenneke is going on a boat? Like, this is something we'd never get to do. But I'm so happy I did it. And if it is for you, I don't know if it's for you. You have to try it out to find it out. But it's for sure it's an adventure. For sure you'll get seasick or you'll get irritations from living with people in such a small area. For sure you have to make a lot of concessions, compromises. But if you're flexible and you have a sense of adventure and love for nature and adventure, then I'm sure it's gonna fit into your street.
So they have different time periods that you can travel, right? Yeah. Do you know what the shortest time period is?
Basically, it depends on the boat you're on. If you would sail, for instance, in the Caribbean, I've looked a little bit into the Caribbean on boats. You could jump on a boat for a few weeks. You would pay and cruise along the islands, maybe for 3 weeks. 1 week, I'm not sure if anyone would do that, because by the time you get to know each other and you get to know the boat, so
then you're done. Yeah.
You're done. I don't know if that's a good idea for anyone, actually, not even for the captain or the crew, but also not.
So let's switch gears. We were talking earlier about a ton of different things, but I want to start with asking you, why do you travel?
Well, I think there's not one answer to it. It's just broadening my horizon a lot, and I feel as a person I'm growing a lot as well. And I actually was thinking a lot about this question the last few days, and I'm maybe searching for my definition of freedom. I don't think that being location independent or digital nomad is per definition freedom. I come to realize more and more that freedom is in your head. And so the traveling lifestyle, which I thought I would have once because of the freedom, I'm now questioning more and more. I do think I love learning, and travel is learning a lot and constantly on all kinds of levels.
So many of us often romanticize traveling, particularly those of us who get to live abroad or who are traveling constantly. And I don't mean people who take vacations frequently. I mean those of us who are really, actually living a nomadic life. So you have been in Colombia for how long now?
It's coming close to 2 months.
Okay. And how long has it been since you quit your corporate job and you've just been out there in the world traveling? How long has that been?
Nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years. Wow. Okay. So get into how do you map something like that out? How does that happen?
It just goes from one thing to the other, I guess. I left my corporate job to go sailing the Indian Ocean, and after that I couldn't see myself in an office job anymore, and I was approached to start working as a virtual assistant, and that gave me some income and made me location independent, and from there the ball went rolling.
How do you plan from place to place where you go? For me, I'm a planner, so I would like, if I were to go somewhere just in an infinite amount of time, I would probably at least have to have it mapped out. Okay, I'm going to go to these cities for the next 3 to 4 months or the next year, something like that. How has your journey been?
Quite spontaneous so far, actually. So after my sailing trip, I went back to Europe for a while, and then at some point up to the Netherlands as well. And at some point, I felt ready to get on the road again, and I drove the train to the airport and booked the first affordable flight out. And that got me to Mallorca, the Balearic Islands in Spain, and from there it just happened. I like surfing, and I like yoga, so I try to put in these elements in the locations I go to. But
so you just said, give me the next available, cheapest flight out, and I'm gone.
To paradise.
Is this what you actually say?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And what is their reaction?
They just smiled and typed into the computer my name.
Wow. Okay, so you show up to paradise, to your next paradise destination.
Yes.
And then what? That would freak me out. You don't know where you're going to stay. And what language do they speak there?
Spanish.
So how many languages do you speak?
Well, fluently actually only 2, like Dutch, my native language, and then English, but I get a long way with German and Indonesian, and my Spanish is improving, which was not the case when
you went there.
No, yeah.
So, that would really freak me out. You don't know where you are. I mean, you know the name of the place where you are, but you just show up at an airport. You don't have a place to stay. So many times us travelers are always looking up these reviews, like make sure the taxi drivers don't try to cheat us. What's the typical fare from the airport to wherever I'm going? So you just through all of that.
Well,
how do you get there and then what?
Well, I checked in, and then you have like a time period of 2 hours before you depart. So that's 2 hours of researching, and I research nowadays with digital nomads, with co-working, co-living popping up everywhere. Every place is quite international, and you get a long way with English already. And so that's actually what I did for Mallorca. I just typed in co-living, found a place, booked for 2 nights, arrived, eventually stayed for 2 months, and it just gets easier the longer you travel. Yeah.
The longer you travel and the more you do it, the more
Yes.
comfortable you get.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed, when I first moved to South Korea, I was really nervous about traveling to certain places. Honestly, this is just a thing. It's just a fact. Most Black Americans have some type of conscious factor about how do they treat Black people in this country. So that was one of the things, one of my concerns. My other concern was traveling alone as a woman. And then the other concern was just not being able to speak the language. Like, those were the three big things. But honestly, the more you travel, the more you learn, things will work themselves out.
Yes.
There will be a lot of bumps in the road. Like, there's always
Yeah, you have to find your
effed
way.
up things that happen with travel, but you have to be flexible and you have to learn to just roll with it, go with the flow, and not focus on that. Because that one little thing could ruin your whole trip if you let it. But you do learn that, you know, these things are just common and they do have a way of working themselves out. Now, before I mentioned that, you know, a lot of people romanticize traveling, but it's not always a walk in the park. So, before we were talking earlier about the questions that we ask ourselves for those of us who decide to live abroad or who decide to take the road less traveled, what were some of the things that you went through mentally, emotionally, that you can share with us about that you went through while you were on your journey?
Well, I guess the intention of why are you traveling is very important to have that clear for you. I think contentment with yourself, with where you are, and realizing that where you are is not necessarily your last station. You can get off the station and stay for a while there, or you can get on a train and go to a different place, a different station. You're in control of that. And once I really realized that, that opens so many options, so many doors. It's really cool actually to approach life that way and leave comparison just out the door at all. But before I got to this point, there was quite a lot of struggles, bumps in the road, of course, because there's this whole new life you can design and you see how other people do it and they seem so successful. Expectation that you think you have to live up to, and I got totally stuck in that 2 times actually in the last year and dropped everything, nearly everything I was doing, and went surfing, sort myself out and start over again. And it was actually, and that's quite the funny thing, because I never really realized how important community was, but since I've been to Medellin, and that's really what Medellin has done for me, is like meeting so many people who are in the same boat as me, and that is so comforting, it's so helpful, because I realize, and there I do compare me, but I realize that these phases I've been through, the phases I'm in now, it's really normal. And I haven't talked to anyone, I haven't spoken to anyone who didn't had that phase or was in that phase actually, and that's a bit comforting. And then it's of course up to you to design it and to get out of on your own path.
Right.
But yeah.
No, it's true. I think that a lot of times, because as I was telling you before, most of the time people who are like us, who like to travel, who just like to like say, okay, I'm gonna take a chance and I'm just gonna see the world and do it for as long as I can. 9 times out of 10, you're not surrounded by other people who are like you. I mean, your friends and your family, and you're kind of like the odd duck. Like, why are you doing this? What are you doing and how are you doing this? Come back home. And so when you're faced with that, your friends and family are supportive, but to a certain extent, because they really don't understand what the heck you're doing or why you're doing it. And so you're kind of faced with this position to have to defend what you do and why you're doing it while you're trying to figure it out for yourself. So it's that weird balance of figuring out where you fit in like I said, they're taking the road less traveled, so there isn't that path that has been paved for you. You're figuring it out as you go, and you go through a lot of these emotional, like roller coaster things of loving your life and being so appreciative, but then sometimes you're like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life?
Well, the thing for me is that I never doubt that I'm not on the right path, but I do struggle trying to make it, create it.
Right.
Because although there's so many people doing similar things to me, there's no one doing it exactly like me. And that goes from things like how and where do I set up my business so I can send invoices, to which location do I do, which adventure do I pursue. There's not a roadmap.
Right.
And that makes it quite challenging at times,
Yeah.
but also very rewarding when you do get one piece of the puzzle together.
Now let's talk about you solo traveling as a woman. Describe what that has been like for you, or if that's even an issue at all for you.
Well, I have never really felt it to be a big issue. I'm anyways pretty cautious at night or places where I go to. If I leave my drink unattended or not. These things, I don't really wear provoking clothing, I feel. So I'm quite tall, and I'm often in countries where people are not that tall, like Asia and now in South America. So maybe I come across to men sometimes as intimidating as well. I don't know, but I never really feel that.
Can you tell me what has been one of your most memorable moments?
Well, the best experience was sailing the Atlantic and having so many dolphins the first 6 days. And they sometimes stayed for an hour and entertain us, and that was just really, really cool, and I can really enjoy moments like that. So that was for sure my number one thing this year. But also actually, like really in the beginning of the year, my brother told me he's going to be a first time dad, and that is also like a really special moment for me. And I'm so happy that I have like the liberty, the freedom to go to the Netherlands and be there around the time.
Where to next? So what's up next for you?
What's up next? Well, I'll stay in Colombia until the May 11th. I'll do a little bit of traveling the last 2 years, and then I jump on a boat again. This time a different boat. It will be a cruise boat actually. It's called Nomadic. It's an event with 150, maybe even 200 like-minded people, and they sail in this journey. They sail from Cartagena in Colombia to Portugal in Europe, and it's just basically a two-week network event where I'm also hosting a talk about my lifestyle. And yeah, so that's next.
How often do they have these?
2 times a year. So the next time it's actually a relocation cruise. So where they book on these berths, and the next one is going in September from the Canary Islands back to Panama, and then probably in May again from this side of the world to
The other
Europe.
side.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, Jenneke, for being here with us and telling us your travel adventure story. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure.
Talking
Thank
with
you
you.
for having me.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Deuces.